Hey everybody, this is Ian O'Byrne. I'm the department editor for the journal, the Multiliteracies department editor for the Journal of Adolescent and Adult Literacy. We've been putting together a series of columns and have interviews that go along with the column to add some complexity to the text that we put out there. The last column that we published is all about the web literacy map and the Mozilla Web Literacy Initiative. Um, in that, we're trying to find out better ways to have students read, write, and participate on the internet. As we brought this column out and started to think about the broader ideas, a couple people came to mind that we should talk to and to add some complexity and depth. So with that being said, I want to introduce Paul and Blaine. I have a little bit of time with you. Paul, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Paul Shaw. I'm a third-year student at Belmont University in Nashville, Tennessee, and I study international business as well as Japanese language.
And where are you currently dialing in from?
I'm in Seoul, South Korea right now, studying for a semester at Sogang University.
Very cool. Blaine, say hi.
Hi, my name is Blaine Smith, and I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Teaching and Learning at the University of Miami. And my work focuses on the digital literacy practices of culturally and linguistically diverse youth in and out of school. And I particularly look at their multimodal composing processes and products.
Awesome. So when we were thinking about this column, we started to think about students and individuals that are actually doing this. We earlier talked to Garth, who's in high school, and he's creating content. He's on YouTube. I learned first about Paul at LRA, and then that brought us together to this interview today. So how did you guys meet? What's the work that you conducted in the past? How did this whole thing start?
Well, Blaine, I believe it was when I was in my junior year in high school, correct? Maybe 2011? Yeah. So I was taking an AP, I believe, literature and composition or some sort of class like that. And my teacher, Mrs. Renner, said that for our final project, we'd be helping out Blaine with her dissertation. And we'd be using literature that we'd read in class and putting together some sort of I guess you could say, blog of some sorts pertaining to a particular topic that went back to the literature that we read. So I just worked on that in the group, and I believe that Blaine really liked my work. So here I am today, yeah.
Yeah, and just to build off what Paul said, so he was in a literature unit where they created 3 multimodal projects connected to the things they carry by Tim O'Brien. So they created an informational website, hypertext literary analysis with PowerPoint, and then a soundscape. And so after that year, the following year, I actually think that was when you were a senior, and then we connected again when you were a freshman in college. But we also worked on a composer's cut project with Bridget Dalton at the University of Colorado Boulder. And for this project, Paul reflected on one of those 3 multimodal projects that he created. And he did this by remixing process data of the Camtasia screen recordings during his workshop sessions, video observations, and then also images of his final product with music and animation, and created this really neat composer's cut video, which is kind of similar to a director's cut, where you get an insider perspective and reflection on the thinking process and design decisions behind his work. And he also shared this online so others could learn about his compositional journey in creating his project.
Yeah, I mean, the composer's cut to me was brilliant. It reminded me, as you guys talked about before, it's almost like the back in the day when we would buy DVDs. At the end of the movie, you'd have that. Here's what the directors say about it. So it was basically a post-mortem analysis that Paul would conduct of his work, saying, here's what I did here, here's what I was trying to do here with this content. Absolutely brilliant. So, quick question, Paul, Blaine, was this work that was already happening in the classroom, or was this stuff that that Blaine brought in, that Bridget helped bring in? Was this already there, or was this stuff that you guys brought in?
So,
Oh, go ahead.
you want me to answer?
I was gonna say I had never done anything like that involved and that I guess you could say monitored. Every single type of coursework that I'd done previously was just kind of hands off in terms of how much involvement the teacher had, or how much involvement we had in kind of building the process by which we do the work. So yeah, this was a first for me, and it was something that I believe Ms. Smith introduced to us through our teacher.
Yeah, I worked with Nicole Renner, the fabulous teacher that Paul, the class he was in, and we developed this multimodal literature unit. But she was also very interested about incorporating technology, so this was an opportunity to help her with that.
Very cool. This is a question for the two of you because I'm interested in hearing what you both say. Paul, you're Skyping it, you're doing a hangout in from Korea, you're studying what, business?
Yes.
And you've had these experiences and you're going to go back home at some point. It's as you think about your future and preparing yourself for your future, what would you describe as your skill set? It's as you're applying, as you applied for colleges and you're going to apply for jobs. What do you think? What is your skill set? What makes you marketable and valuable?
Well, I think that I have a good sense of communication skills with people. I always try to talk to people no matter who they are and, what culture they come from, what background they come from. I really want to know about people. I'm also pretty good with linguistics as well. I speak Japanese, it's my minor. And while I've been here, I've been picking up Korean language as well. Along with that, I have pretty good analytical skills, and I think that's really one of the more important things for me as a business major. And ultimately, I just think that I'm a personable person. I try to make people feel comfortable when they're talking to me and try to understand them on a deeper level than just the surface space.
Very cool. So Blaine, what are you good at? What is when you put together your tenure file?
Well, I'm going to think about answering this question connected to the web literacy map. So what skills I see that how to connect to that. I think the exploring practices piece of online being able to find and synthesize information of what I need, and also being able with connecting and collaborating with others online, that's been a really important part of this job and building relationships and also learning about what others are doing. And another piece of the literacy map that I think I use a lot is remix. So as teachers and researchers, I think that this job involves building on what others have done and remixing it for our goals and our particular context and students, and then adding something new to what others have done.
Yeah, it's amazing that in this short amount of time, in the last couple of years, it's been not just cool but okay, and in some places expected for us to be able to remix, mash up and reappropriate other people's work. Paul, Blaine said that you create and you share music online.
That's true.
All right. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, I originally I went to or I applied to universities to become a musician, classical piano performance major, and I also play guitar and I'm in a band. So when it comes to creating music, in the same way that when you have a brand, when you're trying to build a business or you're trying to put out a product, you have to find avenues to get it out there so that people can learn about what you're trying to do. You have to be kind of smart with it. So when it comes to my music, not only do I use the online platforms like SoundCloud and stuff like that to get my music out there, but also to communicate with my band members that are still in the States so that we can have that open dialogue and, riff off of each other's ideas, although we're so far away from each other.
Awesome. So in talking earlier about the director's cut and being able to, create content and then put the content out online so that you can think about it, reflect, but then others can learn from you, thinking about your work with music and being able to, create and share and participate and get feedback and reflect. How important is that? How important is that to create digital content, use the internet as a platform to share that, to get feedback and have others participate, but then also, why would you do that? It seems some people would say that you're opening yourself up to a lot of risk.
Well, thinking about it from, I don't know, I guess a logical standpoint, back in the day, I can remember working on a project with someone, maybe perhaps doing a paper or something like that, and not being able to communicate with them fast enough to get my ideas um, on that project translated correctly. So by using the internet, especially using platforms like Google Docs, you're able to communicate with each of your team members in a fast and efficient way, and you're actually able to have that clarity within the work. So it makes it a little bit easier to get your ideas out there, and it makes it easier for the product to be complete instead of being incomplete or inconsistent with others' ideas. As well as the internet is a very open place. You're able to connect with people from all over the world. And in that sense, I believe that it's really good for you getting a different perspective on your work. Because if you simply rely on, say, your parents or your friends, it might not be the best thing, what you're putting out. But if you get multiple different opinions, you really get a fuller view of what you're creating, and that makes it better in the end.
I agree. I mean, it's a way to, if the end goal is to make the best product that you can, I'm collaborating on a chapter that's due tomorrow. And it's in a Google Doc. There's 4 or 5 of us that we're just slashing and burning. We want the best product at the end of the day, no matter what. So yesterday, we've been working on it for months. Yesterday, I was slashing and burning everybody's content. So Blaine, what are the challenges? What are challenges and opportunities that exist as we do that, as we collaborate together, we share, and we openly reflect on each other's work? What does this look like? What are the challenges?
Sure, and thinking about integrating these rich practices that students like Paul and Garth are doing outside of school and what the challenges are in the classroom. I mean, there's the obvious ones of teachers not having the technical access and the training that they always need, issues of copyright and remixing and using media. There's also the challenge of students having different technical proficiencies in the classroom, which is also an opportunity. And then a key challenge that Bridget and I are seeing in our work and what we're really focusing on, thinking of ways to scaffold these rich multimodal processes in the classroom. So our work is finding that the process is very different when you're creating these rich digital texts with multiple modes than the traditional writing process. So students are entering through different modes, perhaps audio or writing or visuals, and really layering modes in different ways. So there's lots of variety for how they're working with these modes, and also which modes they think communicate different ideas better. And then we're also seeing that their students are just really traverse these different modes, and it's a very complex process. And so the challenge here is thinking about how to support students during that complex process without stifling the freedom and the ability to move across these modes and pursue their preferences. And so it's really a tightrope of thinking about helping students along the way, but not forcing them to write everything first or do storyboards first. Keeping it an open and creative process is, I think, an important challenge that we're going to have to think about, because the ways that students are creating now are very different than the traditional ways that we often emphasize in the classroom. Some opportunities I see are, as I mentioned, with the different technical abilities in the classroom, that also opens up space for students to step forward as experts and show off the expertise that they've gained outside of class. So for example, when Paul was in the literature unit and the students were creating the soundscapes, he really stepped forward as like a sound engineer for his peers and helped them with using Audacity and mixing audio. And other students who had other technical expertise were able to come forward as well and work with their peers. Some other opportunities, I think there's also some really interesting ways that students can connect with content through creating these digital products. So just for an example, in this same unit that Paul was in, when he created a hypertext literary analysis, he used multiple modes and hyperlinks in PowerPoint to, they were explicating sections from the chapter from the things they carried. So they would hyperlink to other PowerPoint slides where they incorporated music and images that were really in a sophisticated way connected to themes and characterization and all of those literary devices and analysis skills that we want students to develop. They were doing this in rich, multimodal and multifaceted ways. So that's an opportunity, but also a challenge to think of ways to bring in these things and use them in purposeful ways that are also connecting to the content. So those are some of the key. Well, I guess one more I want to add is that bringing in multimodal projects also opens up space for collaboration in the classroom, which is really nice. And students are talking about their design decisions and what they're doing and taking on different pieces of projects and owning those pieces while also developing really important technical skills for the future.
Yeah, I mean, the collaboration piece is so key. It's in the real world, in this networked, world that we're in, you need to be able to collaborate. We can, as Paul said, use the internet as a platform to connect and collaborate and do better things. It's amazing to me that when you get out of the way of students and you let them just create, when you say, okay, let's ignore for now the fact that some of us know how to use these different platforms in different ways. I'm just going to show you the tools. I'm going to open up everything, and I'm going to get out of the way. And at the end of the day, I want the end product to be X. I want you to talk about the things they carry. You already read it. We talked about it till the end of time. We critiqued it. You could, if you want to, write a paper. You can build a speech. You can build a diorama. You can remix a video. Whatever you want to do, you can do. Just get it done. You have 2 weeks, or whatever. It's amazing what students will do. So as we close out, why is this stuff important? Why would you take, Blaine, this is your dissertation and other work. Paul, this seems like this is firmly entrenched in most things that you do. Why is this sort of work important? Why should we have students not only reading, but also building and sharing and participating on the web?
Well, that in the world that we live in the world that's going to, keep on becoming, something that's so entrenched and involved in the internet, it's just important for students, not only, elementary students, high school students, college students, to be more and more literate in the internet. It's such a good platform to create and to collaborate and to learn more about what's happening in the world. Therefore, I think that it's more important for teachers, educators, to embrace this instead of pushing it away and being in favor of more traditional things. Not to say that traditional things aren't the way to go, but I just think it's really important, just in the sense that we already know pretty much how the internet works. We're always on Facebook, we're always on Twitter, we're always on Snapchat and other SNS platforms. So if we can use those things to our advantage and properly communicate and collaborate with others, I think it'll be a little bit easier for us to get jobs in business and in IT and communicate with others easily.
And it is a literacy. If you can't do it, you can't really survive.
That's true.
Blaine, what do you think?
I completely agree with Paul. So we don't want students just consuming, we want them also to be producers so that they have a voice in this world and they're able to participate as global citizens. I think bringing in these types of literacy practices in the classroom, it makes schooling more relevant. They're able to connect to authentic audiences. And also there's a lot of students that don't have the same technical skill and opportunities as students like Paul or Garth, and so that's another reason why we need to help students gain these skills in the classroom if they don't have those opportunities outside of school. And lastly, I think a really important reason for incorporating multimodal projects and digital projects in the classroom is because it opens up space for students to express themselves in empowering ways that they're not always able to with traditional text. So with the multiple points of entry and being able to leverage their cultural life worlds and their interests and what they do outside of school, they're able to gain more of a voice and express themselves in really agentive and empowering ways in the classroom.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I mean, we live in a multi-literate, you know, environment. We live in a place where we have different texts. We have people that want to express themselves in different ways. You know, if you subscribe to Gardner's multiple intelligences, we all think in different ways, and we want to express ourselves in different ways. And the internet, if used properly, has the opportunity to. So, I mean, I thank you for the time to speak with me. Paul, where can people find you online? Where do you hang out on the internet?
Well, I have a LinkedIn profile, of course. I'm also using some of the skills that I learned in our class. I have a blog that I run that's chronicling my study abroad journey and all that stuff. You can find me at www.abroadinkorea, all one word, .com. And yeah, that's basically where I hang out at.
Very cool. I will make sure that I grab all of these links and put them in the blog post. I'm definitely interested in especially the work that you're doing on SoundCloud. SoundCloud is one of those things that I think that far too few people use that really could be a powerful tool. Blaine, where do you hang out on the internet?
On the internet, I have a Twitter, Blaine Smith. That's about it. There's a website that I'm hoping to launch soon, but I'm hanging out at the University of Miami a lot, and you can reach me at blaine.smith@miami.edu.
Very cool. So once again, this interview is part of a series of interviews and columns that we put together for the Journal of Adolescent and Adult Literacy. In this specific series, we're looking at web literacy and the skills and strategies and dispositions that it takes to be web literate now and in the future. We've been talking with experts out in the field, people that are actually doing it and have a viewpoint on it. And we want to give you the unadulterated look at what this possibly could mean for you. So we encourage people to read the column. There are pre-production copies that are out there. Get in touch with others. Get in touch with any of our great guests during the interviews and respond. Blog about it. You know, give us video responses. Give us tweets back to any of this. But most of all, please try and do this. Reach out to some of these great people and get some feedback on how to make this happen in your classroom and in your own life. And with that being said, we will wrap up.